Hey YouTubers, Charles here. Sun is rising and I'm playing Minecraft again. In my little test world here. See, the sun's rising and the light level's already up to 3 from the light sensors that I showed off last time. This time I'm going to show off a few of the other neat machines. Well, really just 2, but that I've made so far. The first one's over here, and it uses some of the weighted pressure plates. Not really sure what this could be used for, but what it does is it compares 2 piles of items and tells you if one is bigger than the other or if they're about the same. This is using the gold pressure plates, which can detect every 4 items. So basically these are the 2 stations here. And if both lights are off, that means there's nothing on either. I can put one item here, and you see this light lights up, saying that this has more weight than the other pressure plate. And now I can put one over here. You see both lights are lit, saying they're roughly equivalent. That basically means they have within 4 items of each other, because that's how sensitive these pressure plates are. They can measure basically between 0 and 57 items, I think. Anything other than that, above 57 items, that are outputting the most power they can. But yeah, basically every 4 items, the power output will be increased by 1. So if I put 4 more items on here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's 5. There you go. See, the other light goes out now, saying that this pressure plate is now heavier. I mean, throw a few more on here. This light comes on, and if I keep going, now that one goes off, saying that this one's heavier. And basically, the way it works, we have this circuit here. It's basically a comparator. This dirt block has the one pressure plate on it, and this dirt block has the other. So the comparator will let a signal through itself. In this case, if the pressure plate behind it is outputting more power than the pressure plate on the side, power will come through the comparator, and then I use this repeater basically just to boost the signal back up to 15, because it's only going to be at level 1, which would only go 1 more block, but this boosts it back up to 15, and that comes and lights this light up. And basically there's an exact duplicate of this circuit, and it's underground here. Basically was using this piece of ground. The comparator here, again, is the same 2 dirt blocks, grass blocks. The comparator was putting power into the dirt block that was here, which is then transmitting that power down here, and then we were using the repeater to boost it up again, and then the repeater would put the power to here, and it would travel underground here. Let me go around the other way so I don't break everything. Oh, I could have just comes through and powers this light. So basically, the comparator back here is the light on the left, and the comparator in the front does the light on the right. And basically, when they're both outputting the same amount of power from the pressure plates, both will allow power through, and that's why they're both lit up when there's the same amount of items on. And of course, if there's actually no items on, neither pressure plate outputs power, and so they're both dark. So that's my item weighing station. The other thing we want to show you is this, and it's huge and complex, but it's a heck of a lot more useful. This is an automatic brewing station. I'd like to say 100% automatic, but there is one tiny step you have to take. But otherwise, you pick exactly what potion you want. If you want the stronger version, or longer lasting version, or if you want it corrupted, or if you want it a splash potion instead of a normal drinkable potion, and you press a button, and in about a minute you get your 3 copies of that potion. The only step you have to do is you have to fill the water bottle, fill the bottles with water yourself. But other than that, it works. So I have this set for healing or harming right now. Right now it's set normal, which is a healing version. I can flip the switch here. It now becomes a harming potion. I can say, I want it the stronger version of the harming potion, and I want to make it a splash potion. And we're going to be fighting some mobs, and I want to be able to throw these harming potions. And then I can just come over here, click the brew potion. That light lights up. You hear a tone. In a second, another wart will pop out, and let me break this glass here and see another wart is going into the water bottles. A few seconds after that's done, we'll get a glistening melon pop out, and the water will bring it into, there's a hopper here, and there's a glistening melon coming. Water's pushing it along. Drops into the hopper loads it in, and we're now brewing that. Then in a few seconds, both a glowstone and a fermented spider eye will pop out. And there they come. And you'll see there goes the fermented spider eye. That will corrupt it. The glowstone, which is now in the hopper, will then make it the extra strength version. And here we go. Now the glowstone is going to make it the level 2 version. And in a few seconds here, we'll get some gunpowder coming out to make it the splash version. There it comes. Alright, the gunpowder is going to drop in a few seconds. There we go. And that's brewing up. And then a few seconds after this finishes, these will automatically be transferred to the chest that's right here in front of me. And a tone will play indicating that the process is done. There we go. We got the splash potion. I can put the glass back. And just waiting. The machine has a little safety built in it. It waits to make sure. There we go. You see they just disappeared. And it's automatically filled back up. And there's potions. I can, pick, say, increased. Oh, there we go. Increased duration. Click the button, let that run. But basically, the way this whole system works, as a user, you would come up these stairs, and there's a bunch of hoppers up here, and you fill all these hoppers with all the different ingredients that can be used. If one of these lights are out, that indicates you're missing that ingredient, so you know to fill it. And there'll be a light. Actually, there's 2 different lights. If this light is blinking, you're out of water bottles, and you can either add them here or add them up the top. Water bottles don't stack. We have a double chest here that they get put in, and because they don't stack, you'll probably run out of them first, because all the other ingredients are just a single chest, but they all stack. So we got that light if you're out of water bottles. This light will blink if you're out of any other ingredient, and then you can go upstairs and see specifically which ingredient you're out of. Oh, did I not hit brew over here? So, yeah, the way this works is those hoppers up above all load into these chests down here, which store the items, and actually then there's hoppers that load them into these droppers. Behind all these buttons for the main ingredient is Pear Squirrel Selector. Look that up on YouTube. It's a very compact device that allows you to select one of a bunch of choices, and the light behind it will light up. Then these are just a bunch of switches that turn on options, and yeah, basically when you hit start here, I start a timer, which is this piston loop here, and it moves a redstone block around, and as the redstone block gets to different points, it activates the different droppers. These blocks are pushed around once every 12 seconds or so. Brewing one item takes 20 seconds, so I have these every other, which gives me 24 seconds, which is enough time for the water to push the item into the brewer, and then for it to complete brewing before I eject the next item. And then there's one extra spot, so it gives an extra 10 seconds just to make sure everything finished. Sometimes the items run slowly. You see I have these delays here, and that's what, there's 30 repeaters set on 4, and that's what makes the 12, maybe it's 12 and a few ticks, a second delay. And basically it's one move now from stopping. The redstone block will starts and stops in this position right there. You see that was the signal that we're all done. So basically when you start it up, on the first move, when the block moves up, it's this row of redstone, and yeah, I probably should have used colored wool so everything shows up, but that comes, and we have basically the droppers. The droppers are all, you can see the rows of droppers right there, and there's one that's on the very end. The rows of droppers are right here. So we got these underneath. They're powered from underneath. So we got these repeaters that power the blocks under them, which causes them to eject. Right behind, we have the droppers. We have a block, and then we have the new comparators, which in this configuration, the comparators are detecting whether there's any items in the droppers at all. And when they are not outputting, that means there are no items in the droppers, and that turns on these torches, which then pass the signal up, and that's what lights these lights, or turns the lights out, because once they're not outputting a signal, these torches come on, which turns off these torches, which would turn off the light to indicate which one is out. Simultaneously, this strip of redstone here would get powered, and then that would come over here, turn off this, which this is a 3-tick timer, which would cause this to start blinking on and off every 3 ticks, which is what powers the blinking light. There's a very similar circuit over here that is dedicated just to the it's right here. This is detecting how many water bottles we have, which I didn't explain, but when you have a brewing stand, you can put a hopper by holding shift and clicking on top. Nope, that's right on the... You know what? It's helpful if you have some... That's what I wanted to do. Blocks. I think you actually have to be pointing to the base. There we go. That's on top. So that will feed items into the top position, the brewing item. And then you can put one on the side. There we go. A little hard, you have to get right on the edge. And that will feed glass bottles or water bottles in. If they're glass bottles, they won't actually brew anything. You need water in them to start with. So that's how this works. And then a hopper on bottom would take items out. But I had some issues with that. Because there's 3 items that you want to take out at the same time. What I didn't mention, I don't think I mentioned in my previous video, is if you power a hopper, it won't take any items and it won't feed them through. So I was originally trying to have a hopper on bottom that I would power and depower to extract the bottles, but what I found would happen, it would take the leftmost bottle, but then the hopper on top would fill in an empty one, and the bottom hopper would, or not empty, but a water bottle, a new water bottle, and the hopper on bottom would grab that water bottle again. So I came up with a different system, but I'll explain that when I get there. So, as this redstone block moves around, as it moves to this first position here, that drops out the nether wart. That's simple, just goes directly to power the dropper. After 24 seconds, it gets moved over to here, and this drops out the main ingredient for the particular potion. And I said I had a pear squirrel selector, which here it is. Basically, the buttons are at this level, and they simultaneously power a repeater, and they power this whole strip. This is basically the reset line. When this gets powered, all these pistons will come down because this gets powered, which powers this whole row of repeaters. Which turns off all of these torches, which turns on these torches, which causes all these pistons to come down. But then this turns off after 1 tick, and the button that you pressed is set for, these repeaters are set for 2 ticks. So then that will turn off the torch of the particular button, which will pull up the piston that's behind the button you picked, and that coming up turns on one of these the equivalent, or this position torch, which keeps this piston in the up position. So that basically the pistons here are the memory for which button was pressed. To get the, to figure out which is pressed, there's torches under here, so we can take with repeaters to power out the back. The way the lights work is because these torches, there's one that is different. We have torches up here, and then that puts a signal through with these repeaters through these wood blocks, and the lights are right on the other side, so that lights the one light. So to get a signal out of the selector, you can take repeaters out the back, and I need to go vertically in my instance, so I'm using torches coming up, and a little bit of trickery, but to get to the right height. But you can see I also have power coming in the back, so when the redstone block gets to this second position, it turns off the power in the back, which will turn on the torch associated with the button that was selected, which comes up here, which comes up to these torches, which will fire the associated dropper with that button. and that will drop out the ingredient you selected. Now, that will go and brew and make the potion the main type of potion. If it's a healing potion or a strength potion or a swiftness potion. But then we have options. We have either a red add glowstone, or basically you can corrupt it, you can make it stronger, you can increase its duration. You can do two of those, but you can't do both stronger and increased duration. Basically, most potions that cancels it out, or it will change it to a different type. There's no both stronger and increased duration, at least through brewing alone. There are ways to hack it. So really, out of these three items, fermented spider eye, glowstone, and redstone, you only need to drop two of them. But basically, that's this next step. 24 seconds later or thereabouts, this line is triggered. That comes, and basically we got those signals coming this way. Here's two of them. Two of them are ejected right by the brewing stand, and well, one is ejected here, and basically we have an and, so this torch, and this torch make an and at the same time. This torch, this torch, and that torch make an and. So when it's flipped and the signal comes is only time when we activate the dropper. And then simultaneously from this torch we get a signal coming this way to another and, which is made with this torch, and it's a little complex, the wiring over here. And this torch, and that torch, which comes and powers this block, which gets picked up by this repeater. And that's the last and for the three items. Which one? The glowstone is down this end. The redstone and fermented spider eye are over here. Finally, so we let that go. Since that's two items, we let that go for actually, it looks like 3 positions. So when we finally get down here, it's time. So 3 positions is not quite enough, but because they drop out, we don't have to wait quite as long. Basically, it's normally 20 seconds to brew, but we drop these out at both at the same time. It doesn't matter which order they're done at. So because we don't have to wait as much for the water, we drop out the gunpowder to make a splash potion a little bit early, but then again we have 3 spaces to make sure there's enough time for everything to brew. So normally one of these spaces is 12 seconds, so this comes out at 36, which we really need 40, but it's going to take 4 seconds for the gunpowder to get there anyway, being pushed by the water. So yes, lastly, once the block of redstone gets here, this comes over, and it's basically same circuit there. We got an and here, these 2 torches, and that torch make up the and then it gets pushed into the block and into the dropper through these repeaters, and that will drop out the gunpowder to turn it into a splash potion if that's what we selected. And then we wait this time 3 spots, basically 2 spots to let it enough time to brew, and then 1 more spot just to make sure, just in case anything got held up in the water. And finally, a redstone block moves here. We have an edge detector. It's a rising edge or turning on detector. So when this block first gets here, this torch will make a brief flash. I believe it happens to be 2 ticks, but it doesn't really matter. And simultaneously, this torch turns out. Basically, the way this whole thing works is when it's first started, you're pressing the button, sends an initial pulse, and it moves this redstone block up. Once that redstone block is up, this torch comes on, which turns out this torch, and this is another AND right here, and basically, if this torch is on, and I put a redstone signal into this timer, it will just get here and stop and not move on because this torch can't, is being held off. So once the redstone block moves, this torch turns out. So when we get a pulse of a signal here, this torch will turn off, which will turn, briefly because it's only a pulse, which will then come over here and go another round. And that's why these blocks keep moving. So once the redstone block, gets there, this turns on, which stops any further pulses from going around, and it lets out a brief signal here, which is our, finish, ring the tones, and collect the bottle signal. So this took me a bit to figure out this part. Like I said before, I had problems getting the bottles to come out right, but basically I got a RS latch here. It's a little complex here to see, but this torch and this torch, when this gets power, this torch turns off, this torch turns on, which powers to keep this torch off, but then there's a set of repeaters here. It's actually set up as a monostable circuit. So this, after the set of repeaters run out, it will then turn the latch back off. But what happens when the latch comes on, power stops coming this way. So you can see here's the brewing stand. So the one set of power comes this way, goes to that torch, which goes to this torch, which goes to you can see 1, 2, come on, fly, there we go, 1, 2, 3. So when this torch comes on, here's where the water bottles come in, and it basically stops feeding water bottles into the brewing stand, so they temporarily stop filling. Simultaneously, this torch will come on, which powers this block, which there's a powered rail here, which causes this cart, which happens to also have a hopper in it, to move underneath the brewing stand. And once it's under there, it sucks all the bottles out of the brewing stand and into the hopper. So we have just enough delay here. We got 4 on 4 ticks, and then we got an extra tick. 4 on 4 ticks is enough to collect 3 items, and then just another tick to make sure everything works right. But then the pulse of power, it will get over here and go through this repeater, and that will then power this powered rail and push the cart back. And as the cart starts moving, the signal comes through here. We got another extra tick delay, and that will then turn off the because at this point this power will be off, but that will, once we come through here, it'll turn it back on, which basically resets the RS latch, or resets the monostable surface. Monostable circuit. So, at that point, the cart with the 3 now brewed potions comes back. It stops here, but there's a hopper underneath it, and that hopper will take the 3 potions out of the hopper cart and then pushes it into another hopper, which is right behind the chest there, which they are deposited in. And you can see here's our potions of regeneration, the 2-minute long version. So you can also one thing I didn't show is if you automatically pick stronger, it automatically turns off increased duration, and like we can then come over here and start that. Let's see. There we go. That dropped out the nether wart. You can see the 1 torch over here is out. There's a signal. And you can see it's 3 repeaters long because the button does send out a signal, I believe, for 9 ticks when you press a button. One thing you do have to be careful of, or I found, is a redstone block is a little bit hard to be pushed around by pistons because in some circumstances it actually happens to cause the piston to activate. Maybe not right away, maybe when there's a block update nearby. So what I had to do is I found it worked okay for here and there, maybe depending on the direction it faced. But over here and at the bottom pushing up, I actually had to put in sticky pistons which push the block and have that block actually touch the redstone block to not have the piston immediately activate when the redstone block got near it. But yeah, that was a little bit of a twist, but it got worked out. Alright. We already did the item and the modifier. I didn't choose splash, so we're about to activate the splash item, the gunpowder, but that was off, so the and won't do anything. We're getting close to the end here. The potion's already done. We're just waiting because we might have chosen to have it a splash. I'll come over here so you can see what happens. Be done in a second, and we'll see the cart move. Anytime now. There it goes. Collected on items, came back, dropped them off. Yeah, the tone is actually these are 2 of the, as this gets lit up, those make a sound. There's another 2 actually around here somewhere. Oh, here they are, and they're actually those are the 2 for the start sound when the light lights up. Because there's actually a latch here, or I guess you could call it a real big monostable circuit because it depends on that. But basically, yeah, the same signal that activates the cart also turns this one back off. But there's... Oh, here's the other 2. So these are activated right at the start of the monostable, and these are activated right at the end. But, yep, here we go. And we got another 2 more potions here. Or 3 more. And that's my automatic potion machine. I guess I could have made it a little more efficient. 'Cause you don't need the water. You could put a whole bunch of hoppers just to move them along and drop it in here, but I think it's looks a lot neater with the water because you can actually see the items being used and dropped in. And while it may take 10 extra seconds, it makes a much nicer presentation. I do have ice here that kind of makes the items move quicker. I can't put ice the whole way because the ice would be right on top of the light, and when you turned on the light it would melt the ice. But at least it helps this block, because it's kind of a full block of water, move slower, so it kind of helps the items here get past that. But yeah, that's my automatic brewing machine. The light here turns on when you first start to use it, and it turns off when it's done, along with the tones to let you know. We got lights to indicate if anything is out, and you know, lights to show you what the options are. And I hope you enjoyed seeing this. Guess I'll talk to you guys next time.